Welcome to the Talk Like a Leader podcast, where we explore the mindset, skill set, and habit set of leadership communication. Using these tips, techniques, and tactics, you'll be able to talk like a leader to build better relationships and get more done. Your host is Guy Harris, who has more than 20 years of combined professional and military experience in consulting, coaching, and training in areas like team and interaction dynamics, communication strategies and tactics, as well as emotional intelligence. Take it away, Guy.
Hi, this is Guy Harris. Welcome to the Talk Like a Leader podcast. This week's episode is Lessons from Politicians: What Not to Do in Leadership Communication. One of the things that occurs to me as I watch the political process is, first, I wonder if there are very many politicians who really understand how to build consensus and reach joint decisions that protect the interest as much as possible of everyone involved. And I realize that, I'm not a politician. I don't live in that world. I honestly don't understand all of the pressures they face in terms of opinion polls and decisions driven by parliamentary process and the need to raise money and the need to be liked and appreciated by large numbers of people so that you can be elected to office. I don't live in that world, don't have any desire to live in that world. I can't observe that world and say that much of what happens in at least the public-facing side of that world is not leadership communication. It might be negotiation conversation. It might be pressuring conversation. It might be coercive conversation. I personally wouldn't put it in the category of leadership communication. And frankly, I see this from all sides of the political process. I don't think it's a left or right thing, a Democrat or Republican thing, a conservative or liberal thing. It's just something that I see pretty much everywhere in the political process and political conversation. I see people taking great energy and investing time and staking out positions and then defending those positions rather than engaging in conversation and trying to resolve the underlying problem. And like I said, I can't comment on all the pressures or realities of their world, the constraints they operate in. I can only talk about the communication I see. And so I think there's some very powerful things we can learn, basically what not to do. You can see things that happen frequently in the news, in political debate, in campaigns, and they are very obvious reasons or examples of what not to do as a leader in an environment where you're trying to build consensus and trying to get engagement and buy-in from the people close to you and trying to create win-win scenarios and solutions for the whole organization. So there are 5 big problems I see in the political debate, and I'm going to suggest you learn from these and try to avoid them in your own communication. So number 1, stating opinions as facts, and in some cases, actually making up facts about the other person, spinning what they've said so that the little soundbite that is issued, it doesn't really reflect the full nature of what the person said in the situation. So stating opinions as facts or spinning facts or taking pieces of information and stating them as if it were the whole scenario, any of those is a poor way to communicate effectively. So number 1 issue is stating opinions as facts. Second thing to avoid in leadership communication is starting with the proposed solution and then arguing with people about the solution. I did an episode on the 6 steps for collaborative conversation a while back. And one of the key elements of seeking a collaborative solution where you engage other people in solving the problem is you start with the problem statement, or even better, start with agreement that there is a problem and that we both acknowledge that there's a problem and that we both or all of us acknowledge on the definition of the problem before we even begin to talk about how to solve the problem. And in the political process, it usually starts with a proposal for what to do about a situation before having any of the conversation that leads to reaching agreement on that solution. Not enough groundwork laid, jumping straight to the end of the process rather than starting at the beginning and saying, do we all agree that there's a problem here? Can we talk about this problem and find a way to resolve it together? We jump right ahead to the solution in the political process of the political world. Which also leads to the third problem that I see is basically staking out positions rather than seeking common ground. creating a position statement and arguing from that position rather than seeking a way to bridge differences between people to collaboratively, again, solve the problem. It's about winning ground. It's about crushing the opponent. It's about driving the other person into seclusion or making them back down or using power and coercion to force them to do something rather than persuade or influence or collaborate with people to arrive at a joint solution to the problem. So staking out positions rather than seeking common ground. Another problem I see is attacking the character or intent of the opposing party. It's known as an ad hominem attack. Attacking the person rather than the issue. Not a good way to get people to buy in and join you in solving a problem. And then another related issue, it's kind of a combination of staking out a position and attacking the character and even starting with a proposed solution. It winds up with a focus on winning the conversation over resolving the issue, or winning the race over solving the problem. It's a race to raise money maybe, or a race to win votes, not a race to solve problems. And, like I said, in a world driven by parliamentary procedure and the need to raise money and opinion polls and procedural limitations and legal limitations and all kinds of things that drive the political process, I am confident that people in that world see all kinds of good, valid reasons for why they communicate the way they do. What I'm suggesting is that as a leader in an organization who's trying to create buy-in, who's trying to engage people to rise to higher levels of performance, who's trying to connect with people to solve problems together for the betterment of the organization, who's trying to get people to bring their heart and soul to work rather than just show up to get a paycheck. The 5 things I said here, stating opinions as facts, starting with a proposed solution, staking out a position rather than seeking common ground, attacking the character or intent of the person, and focusing on winning over resolving are terrible ways to communicate. Let's leave that to the politicians, and let's not let that sneak into the way we communicate with each other in our day-to-day work lives, organizational lives, where we really need to solve problems that affect the people that are on our team and our customers. If you'll focus on separating opinions from facts and focusing on facts, if you'll focus on finding common ground on the definition of a problem before trying to solve the problem, if you will be willing to move your position in the interest of finding common ground, if you're willing to honor and respect the character of the other person and draw attention to the positive attributes of their character rather than the negative attributes of their character, if you'll focus on resolving the conflict or resolving the problem we face over winning your position or winning the argument, if you'll do these 5 things, you can talk like a leader. This has been the Talk Like a Leader podcast. You can listen to this show every week wherever you get your podcast. If you haven't, be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. I'm Guy Harris, and thanks for listening.